Okay. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir. On behalf of Sahodaya President, Sahodaya Secretary, I welcome Mohammad Jiauddin, TGT English of Kiran Public School, Koldiha, Giridih. He is going to, today, he is the resource person, and his topic is assessment, a class management tool. I wish him all the best and all the success in the seminar. Now, over to Jiauddin, sir. Jiauddin, sir, you can carry.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon.
Okay. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Myself, MD Ziauddin, as Master Trainer from Kiran Public School. Today, in this session, I will let you know about the various methods of assessment in the classroom during teaching learning process. Is it audible to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So in this session, today we are going to discuss about various assessment methods which we use during our teaching learning process. All right. So without wasting any time, as there is very short span of time given for this session, I would like to first of all share my screen, and later on I will give you the brief discussion about the topic. Okay, and I will try to cover up all those points which are there in this topic. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Please continue.
Am I audible to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Before starting this topic, we should go some back. Hello. Am I audible to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Okay. Before coming to this topic, I would like to share some points regarding the teaching techniques which were used in old traditional days. Okay. So as we know that teaching styles have changed significantly over the years, the traditional way that education was delivered was through recitation and memorization techniques, whereas the modern way of doing things involves interactive methods, right? So the conventional method, we can see that is still widely used in schools nowadays. Uh, the old-fashioned way of teaching was all about recitation. For instance, if we take an example, in those days,
कुछ नहीं फायदा
I
उसी
would
से
kindly
चले आए
request
थे
all the participants to please mute yourself, please.
हाँ ये सब भी कुछ नहीं
All are requested to please mute yourself. So, as I was saying, that old-fashioned way of teaching was all about recitation, right? So, for example, in those days, no, students used to sit in silence while one student after another would take it in turns to recite the lesson until each one had been called upon, right? The teacher would then listen to each student, and then they were expected to study and memorize the assessment. Okay, and then after at the end of the module, a written test or oral examination was conducted. The way in which traditional methods were taught ensured that students were rewarded for their efforts, right? They were based on established customs that had been used successfully in schools over many years. But nowadays, as we can see that Ministry of Education is going to deliver that new education policy, right? And in this, it is mainly focused on that skill-based education. The main focus of this new education policy is skill-based education. So in this context, the progressive learning, right? Progressive learning has been delivered by the Ministry of Education. So in this context, in progressive modern technique, learning is taught from a completely different angle. The modern way of teaching is more activity based, right? It is also demonstrative and has collaboration techniques, right? As we can say that in traditional techniques, repetition and memorization of information to educate students meant that they were not developing their critical thinking, problem solving, decision making skills. But in modern learning, it encourages the students to collaborate and therefore be more productive. Now it's time to try new and take innovative approaches in order to make our students a skillful one. Okay. So now, moving ahead, we can see that in assessment, you will get different goals. You will have to evaluate the students. You have to analyze, right, what the students are learning, how they are preparing for the upcoming tasks, right? We have to measure their skills, which is present inside them. We have to progress our students for the future generation. We have to make them capable in each and every field, right? Next, before coming to the topic, let me introduce the introductory part of this topic, that assessment, you can see that assessment is the only way by which a teacher can know how successful his teaching was and what areas in teaching it needs improvement, right? If I summarize the introductory part of this topic, it is defined that it is the act of judging the amount of learning, whatever you are teaching the students during your classes, right? That took place as a result of learning and teaching, right? So we need to judge our students at a regular interval during our teaching process, how much they have gained, what we have taught, and what they have taken from our teaching. As we teachers use this instrument, right, for learning to enhance a students' motivation and commitment to learning. We need to focus on the students' skill, how much they are committed to our learning, whatever to our teaching, whatever we have taught, what they have gained. Similarly, you can see that a student can know his learning difficulties and also at what position he stands in the crowd of students. Through this particular topic, through this assessment process, a student will come to know about difficulties, what he or she is facing while learning, and he or she might come to know that where he or she stands in different situations. Okay. Now, in this assessment, it involves different information we can gather from our children during our teaching process. What? First one, let's see. First question is that whether the children are learning the things being taught. Whatever we teachers are teaching in the class, okay, whether they are grabbing those things, how much they are learning. So we need to focus on those things. Whatever we as a teacher, we are delivering in the class during our teaching learning process, how much the child is gaining, that we need to focus on that. Next is, what is the curiosity level of the student? Curiosity level, how much the children has gained and how much interest they have shown while you were taking the classes, whether the student were able to pronounce those words which were taught in the class, whether the reading was correct or not. There are various n number of things you can, with the help of which you can check the curiosity level of those children. Next is, are they able to give answers to the questions relating to the lessons being taught? For example, suppose that being an English teacher, suppose that I am teaching a chapter in English. Let's take an example of standard 9. There is a lesson in the kingdom of fools. Okay. After finishing some part of the lesson, you can I can interact to my children. I can ask some questions related to that topic, right? So were they able to give answer what we have taught? Were they able to give the questions correctly? Suppose that where was the kingdom located? Name who was the king, and there were different questions you can arise from your children, and you can find out whether they were able to give the answers correctly, whatever you have taught or not. Okay, next is, to which extent are they able to give answers to the questions on completion of the lessons taught? Now, you have to judge here the parameter of a child, right? To which extent they were able to give your answers. Now, you can, meanwhile, you can give them some grade, or you can appreciate them that, no, your answer was this, your answer was that. In this way, you can judge your child, and you can measure to which extent they were able to give the answers to your questions. Next, whether the things taught help them develop their own ideas about the lesson. Now, this is very important, right? So, whatever you have taught, your teaching, whether your teaching has helped them to develop their own ideas about the lesson, whatever lesson you have taught, whatever topic you have taught, relating to that topic, were the child were able to develop their new ideas related to that topic or not? That you have to judge, right? Whether the child was creative or not, whether in that particular child you can see that the skill was there or not to develop new ideas, right? So you can judge through this parameter. Next, how are they working on the project given by the teachers relating to the subject matter? Now, this also is very important. You can judge that whether the project given by you as a teacher, are they working on the project, whatever project they have submitted on the given topic, right? Whether they were successful in dealing that or not, that also you have to judge. Next, how are they behaving in the class culture made by the teachers? Now, while teaching, we as a teacher, while we are in the classroom, we can see that how many children are attentive towards your teaching. No, you can see that some are engaged in gossiping, some are engaged in writing different subjects. It's common. So you have to create interest in your student, make something different, do something different, so that their interest in your teaching should come, and that will help to maintain a class culture, that will help to maintain your class discipline. And then only that interest, suppose that some students are staring at you but their mind is somewhere else, that also we need to focus as a teacher. Okay, is it going all right, all of you? Am I audible? Everything is okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Based on the above this
Sir, but we
earlier
are unable to see the presentation, sir. Excuse me.
unable to see the presentation.
Yes, sir.
Just a minute.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So whatever I'm delivering from here, is it audible to you all or not?
Yes, sir. आ रही है आवाज.
Okay, then fine. Okay, give me some minute. I'm trying that you should get the PPT.
Yes, sir. You are clearly audible.
Is it okay now?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
It's okay now.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes,
So-
now it is visible. Carry on, sir.
Okay, thank you. Okay, based on the above discussed points, we can say that as it is there in the assessment, that there are two types of assessment. Okay, first one is formative and the second one is summative. Okay, as we can see that formative assessments measure student comprehension in the process of learning a skill or acquiring new knowledge. What has the child learned so far? In this formative assessment, say that it refers to a wide variety of methods that teachers use to conduct in process evaluation of student comprehension, learning needs, and academic process during a lesson. It is a unit or a course. Okay. In fact, we can say that it is for learning which occurs while the teaching process is on. This type of assessment you can go through while your teaching process is on. You can, while teaching, you can ask some questionnaire, you can give them some task related to your topic. So it comes under formative assessment. Okay, in this formative assessment, we can ask our children to, related to your topic, you can ask your children that to draw a concept map in class to represent their understanding, how much they have understood a topic. You can ask your students to draw a concept map. Okay. Next, you can also ask to submit 1 or 2 sentences identifying the main point of a lecture. Okay. Next is turn in a research proposal for early feedback of your students. You can conduct group discussion, you can raise questionnaire, you can also conduct mock interviews, and but make sure that all these assignments which you are giving to your child, that should be low stake group work. Okay, there should be no harm to the students whom you are involving or whom you are engaging in different assignments or the task that you are giving. And finally, in this assessment, you can assign some homework. Now, coming to summative assessment, okay, it measures the student's comprehension at the end of a lesson or a unit. What did the child learn overall? Now, in this particular assessment, this is the conventional method which we are habituated, right? After completing the lesson, we used to give a, or we make them write some notes, and after writing the notes, we conduct the examination, and then we give them the scoring, whatever they have scored, and we talk to our child that this is your improvement part. You should improve in this area. You should do better in this way. We all discuss in this summative assessment, which is there in this conventional method. But in this assessment, which is of learning assessment, we will discuss later on that assessment is also of 3 kinds, right? In this summative assessment, we can say that it occurs after the teaching of a particular lesson is over. That what I mentioned earlier, right? Children become more aware of their own teaching. We can judge them by how much they have learned after the lesson is over, by asking them, or by taking weekly test or regular interval examination is going on. That's in that manner we can judge our child. They develop in this assessment, our students, they develop their own thought or opinion as regards, right, the lesson being taught. Whatever we are teaching to our students, they develop in this assessment, they will develop their own opinion, and they will try to give their own thoughts related to topics being taught. More than in this assessment, multiple sections or classroom are there, then the examination process takes place, right? In this summative assessment, we can ask our children to make some final projects, like we can make them, we can ask them to prepare some final essays also, we can make them prepare final presentation also, right? So in this manner, we can judge our students relating to this assessments. Okay. Next, keeping the earlier mentioned points in mind, just like formative assessment and summative, we can sum up our assessment process as: first one is assessment for learning, right? Now, assessment for learning, next is assessment of learning, and assessment as learning. Okay, now coming to the different points. First one is assessment for learning. As you can see that in this particular kind of assessment, in assessment for learning, we teachers use this assessment as an investigable tool to find how much as much as they can about what students know and can do. We can also clear their confusions. We can preconceptionate them. We can provide the basis for determining what they need to do next to move student in their learning forward, right? So in this assessment for learning, it is the process as we can define this particular topic. So we can say that assessment for learning is the process of looking for and interpreting evidence for use by learners and the teachers to decide where the learners are in their learning, where the child is standing after your teaching, after your topic is over, what they have learned. Through this method, we can judge our students that where they are standing, where they need to go, and how best, right? How best we can make them in order to get there, in order to achieve their goal, whatever they want to achieve. And in short, we can say that this process, this whole process of learning, assessment for learning, we can say that it is a formative assessment. Okay. Next, assessment of learning. Assessment of learning is the assessment that becomes publicly and results in statements or symbols about how well students are learning. You can judge your students through this assessment, that what the students are gaining from your teaching. It often contributes to pivotal decisions that will affect students' future. So in this learning, we can say that assessment of learning access where teachers use evidence, as I mentioned that earlier also, that we teachers use evidence of students learning to make judgments on student achievement against goal and their standard, what goal they are setting up in their life, whatever they have aimed in near future. So we can make them develop their own ideas. We can develop their creative skill, whatever, and so that they can achieve their goal in their different standard. And in this connection, this whole process, this assessment of learning process, we can sum it as summative assessment. Last, feedback, right? Feedback, it comes under assessment as learning. You can see that it focuses on students and emphasizes assessment as a process of metacognition. What is metacognition? It is the knowledge of one's own thought process, what your child is thinking, right? What it is, his or her thinking skill, that is the metacognition for students. One's own, how he or she is presenting his or her own ideas in different topics assigned by you. This comes under assessment as learning. Okay, so we can say that this assessment as learning, it is the use of a task or an activity, you can say, which helps our students to use assessment to improve their own learning, making adjustments so that they achieve, right, deeper understanding regarding relating different topics. As you know, we give them some vast topics and they are unable to come back with proper resolution, proper output. So with this helpful method, assessment as learning, they would be able to adjust himself or herself, and they will have deeper understanding regarding this topic. Now, after doing the assessment, right, then comes the measurement part, which is very helpful, right, in students' judgment, how much your child is there, where the child stands. But before coming to this measurement part, there is one more assessment, right? That is, you can say that it is, you might have heard also, it is known as school-based assessment. School-based assessment. Now, what is school-based assessment? In this form of assessment, you can say that it is performed at the school level by teachers and educators. We educationists, we can make our students perform this type of assessment, right? It is done fully in the school based on the guidelines which provided by the Board of Education, CBSE, right, to which our school is affiliated. Now, some features I would like to mention to you regarding this school-based assessment, right? In this school-based education assessment, sorry, it is a child-centered and multi-dimensional. School-based assessment is a child-centered and multi-dimensional. Thus, we can say that it improves the social, physical, emotional, and intellectual development of our children. Through this, we can judge our students that how much they are social, how much they are physical, and how emotional they are. Means we can say that through this school-based assessment, we can overall judge the intellectual development of our children. Now, in this type of assessment, we teachers have full authority without any, you can say that, external interference of others, right? We don't have any interference in between. No, this type of assessment you should not do. We are free to do different type of assessment which is related to our school for the betterment and for the progress of our child. It is, we can say that it is more transparent in nature, right? Compared to summative assessment. Whatever task we used to give after completion of the lesson, right? So we can say it would prove more fruitful compared to those assessments which were done in summative assessment. It also provides a good idea to teachers about what the children have learned, how they learned, right? What difficulties they faced with this, with this assessment, right? We can say that we can judge our students how much they have learned, what difficulties they have faced, what their interest, what was their interest during the given task or assignment which were assigned to them by their teachers. We can assess them through this assessment. As we all know, as I mentioned earlier also, that the traditional evaluation system, right, used earlier in different schools, in all schools, you can say, board exams were determining factors, right, earlier, suffered from various drawbacks. Also, we can say that the most important is that it assessed only the scholastic area of learning, not the co-scholastic. It with those type of teaching learning process in those days, in traditional days, it used to assess the students. We used to judge their scholastic area of learning and not the actual capabilities of the learner. What what your students are learning, what their capability is, what their strength is, what their weakness is. So we were unable to judge all those parameters of our students. So we can say that it also did not take into consideration about the improvement and the aspect of children's learning. Next, we can say that the school-based assessment focuses on continuous developing of the deficiencies, whatever deficiency a child is having in him or himself or herself, we can just through this our school-based assessment. And from, you can say that from then onwards, we can take our students to another level. Now comes the assessment and the evaluation, which we as a teachers, we do after completion of our topic, after completion of our syllabus. No, evaluation. We do it on regular basis. So evaluation, what is evaluation? It is the process of determining to what extent the educational objectives are being realized. What your child has learned, what you have taught, and what the child has learned through this process, we can determine to what extent your children have learned. So, in this evaluation process, we can differentiate the merit or worth what the child has gained from your teaching. Evaluation is a systematic examination of educational and social progress. What the child, how much your child is progressing, right, in your given topic, whatever you have taught, what is their progress through this assessment or evaluation process, you can judge your child. And as mentioned, you can see that it involves assessing the strengths and weaknesses of programs, policies, personal products, and organization to improve their effectiveness. Whatever lacking, what is lacking evaluation or the assessment process, through this we can clear the weaknesses of different parts. Now, next is purpose. Now, what is the main purpose of assessment or evaluation? Right. The main purpose of assessment or evaluation is that it provides a short-term goals to the student. As I mentioned earlier, that in formative assessment, while you are in those assessment, while you are taking classes, no, you can judge your child how much they have learned, what is he or she gaining from your teaching. So in this type of evaluation or assessment process, you can provide them short-term goals so that they can so that you can judge how much your child is gaining. It also clarify the intended learning outcome. Okay, so to determine the level of knowledge and understanding in students, this assessment or evaluation process, it determines the level of knowledge, how much knowledge your child is gaining, what is the level of knowledge in him or her, you can determine. You can also make your students understand that these are the parts that you are lacking, and these are the things that you need to improve yourself in different aspects, right? Next is we can diagnose the strength and weakness of students. The same thing, we can mention that this is your weakness part, this is your strength. Next, purpose of assessment evaluation. Next is that it encourages students learning by measuring their achievement, right? Through this point, we can encourage our students learning by measuring their achievement, how much they have gained, what they have achieved through your teaching process, right? So through this, we can encourage our students. Similarly, we can give them some grade, we can appreciate the child, making them him or her stand in front of the class and making him appreciate that no, this work done by you is quite appreciable, right? So in this manner we can encourage there are many different sources we can apply to encourage our students. Next is to provide information to students for overcoming learning difficulties. We can provide some information, many information in fact we can provide, but some information we can provide to students for overcoming what are their learning difficulties, what problem he or she, what problem the child is facing, right, during the teaching learning process. While you are giving lecture, while you are making them understand different topics, so we need to focus on that what your child is gaining, right, what they are facing difficulties, why he or she is unable to give you answer. So you need to, we as teacher, we as educationists, we need to judge our students, what sort of problem he or she is facing, and we need to provide them the correct information. We need to develop a better convenient platform for him or her, so that that difficulty what the child is facing, that should be ejaculated. Next, to estimate the effectiveness of the instructional media used, we can also instruct through different techniques, through technology, the effectiveness of media in to our students. This purpose of assessment evaluation, it will help the student acquire the attitude and skill or self-evaluation. It not only will judge the students, right, but it will help we as a teacher to self-evaluate ourselves, how what we have taught, how much whatever topic we have taught, how much we have given our students. To students, it will help them acquire the attitude and skill, what attitude they are having and what skill they are having. Basically, the whole motto, we can say, the purpose of this session is that we have to make our student a skill based, right? We have to develop skill among our students. Okay. Now, before summing up, as this whole, you can see that this complete process, right? This complete process of assessment, whether formative, whether summative, assessment for learning, assessment of learning, or assessment as learning, or school-based assessment, this whole complete process of assessment is called CCE, which stands for continuous and comprehensive evaluation, right? This type of evaluation is a process of assessment which was directed by the Right to Education Act of India in 2009. Lastly, we can say that assessment is an integral part of teaching learning process, because it helps the teacher to understand children's learning and serves as a feedback for his or her own teaching. It also helps our students to see their strength and help the teacher fine tune his or her training accordingly. This type of assessment will bring out the best in student when conceptual change and students' alternative solutions are assessed through several different methods used in assessment. So that much was there for the session. Thank you, all of you. Now I am forwarding to Kushal sir.
Yes, sir. Actually, if any query you have, please ask. Yes, it has been.
कहाँ से दवा
All participants are requested to please ask any query or any confusion regarding the session. You are free to ask question related to the assessment. And for information for you, that feedback form and attendance form will be given in the chat box. Any question you can ask. Any doubt? Subhash sir? Do you want to say something? Do you want to say something?
Sir, as I am taking care of YouTube, so right now there is no question from any of the teachers. So I think the session is quite informative. Everything is quite so clear that they are not having any kind of doubt.
Okay.
So I should thank Mr. Ziauddin sir that the session is wonderful today. That
Thank
the
you, sir.
teachers
Right,
are not
right.
having any kind of questions.
Thank you, sir.
So the attendance link is already been shared in Google Meet and YouTube also.
Yes, yes.
So the participating teachers can mark their attendance in YouTube also.
Subhash sir,
Yes, sir.
I would like to thank all the participants who patiently listened this session, and they are not having any doubt. I would like to thank all the participants. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Ziauddin sir. Thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you, sir.
And the attendance cum feedback form is given in both of the platform, that is YouTube and Google Meet.
So I have to also go through it.
No, sir.
Gochal sir? Okay.
No. Only participants will do this. Teachers, are you able to open the form?
Yes, sir, we can.
Okay. Fill it properly and submit. The response will be open for 4 p.m. up to 4 p.m. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.